amazing stories of kids like me held by Cancer Kids and some of the amazing things we are doing now, as well as remember the heroes that were taken away from us too soon. Support the vital work of this local organization in the 12th Cancer Kids Radiothon on March 31st, presented by Comfort Pro, your local Bryant dealer, and brought to you by
Jimlo Glass Center, Freedom Claims Management, Cornerstone Automotive, Miller Plastics and Warehouse, and the Great Bend Rec Center.
Sports Day is brought to you by Barton Community College. Explore your future and get started now. Visit gobarton.com.
Okay, Sports Day in 3, 2, 1.
The Central Plains Lady Oilers season has come to a close after losing their opening round game at the Class 1A D1 state tournament in Dodge City to the Donovan West Mustangs 60-40.
I don't think it really mattered. I think any of those four teams that we would have played would have been really good. And obviously, Maxwell's a great team. You know, they have the experience. It seems like almost every year, Coach Tuckelman's got them playing at least the Dakota State or in the state tournament.
I would get to go along, and that was like the greatest thing ever or whatever. And, of course, you know, everybody went out to Hayes. Everybody stayed the night. You know, it was always a lot of fun. I have never not appreciated what this is like, and our community really enjoys it as well. And, yes, everybody really gets involved, and I'm really looking forward to it. They have big plans for us for send-offs.
Well, we were trying to win. We were trying to get the number one seed overall. So now we have to go to the tournament and win that. You know, that's going to be, if you get the number one overall seed in our favors. We're playing close to home and stuff like that. So we're definitely playing for something.
Really transition, just limiting our turnovers. The first time we lost, we had a lot of turnovers, and they scored a lot of transition. So just try to come down and get good shots each possession, and then defensively, just limit some of their players.
Just how competitive it is, you know, from day one. I mean, you play, you know, top opponents every single day, who's going to bring, you know, their best shot, and it's our job to be ready, to be mentally prepared.
And welcome to Sports Day on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM. Indeed, it is the Thursday show. Steve Webster with you today on the program, joined by Mike Corson.
Howdy, howdy.
And Aaron Clark.
Not a bad luck charm. Dropping like flies.
We'll discuss that. Welcome to the program today. We've got another good one. Man, it's going to be hard to... Mike Corson is in charge of lining up guests for next week as we start the spring sports season. Cole Reif's going to be back here second time. We had to double his pay to get him to come up from the basement today, but we're going to be talking about Barton's Region 6 semifinal games tomorrow night in Wichita. Barton women play Butler. Barton men play Coffeyville. And former Great Bend Panther and Fort Hays State Tiger Matt Simmons joining the show as he gets set to coach Perry Lecompton tonight in the 3A state tournament in Hutchinson against southeast of Saline. Matt Simmons, you talk about three. Okay, his high school coach was Jeff Langer. He's a Hall of Famer. Craig Fletchall will be. And Mark Johnson has more wins than any other coach in Fort Hays State history. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good place to get your coaching knowledge from.
Can't think of much better coaching tree just based off of sheer resume than that one.
So that'll be fun. We'll talk to him about leading his team to state tournament. And he had some success there, didn't he? Yeah, a couple state championships.
Real quick Mark Johnson story. I took his coaching basketball class. Pretty quiet kid. I don't know what I'm talking about with basketball. So one day he's ranting and raving about not winning. And so I raised my hand and said, well, who recruits these kids? And he got quiet and he said, man, the kid that's been quiet all year. Well, it's either the coaching or the recruiting. So which is it, coach? Wow. Cool guy, though.
Yeah, I'm sure. Talking, you know, he's probably a little bit scared, the kid with the hoodie on over the corner, you know, and
never seen Corson's eyes.
Knows what he's got in his backpack, you know.
I tell you, you know, I cleaned those coaches' offices at Fort Hays. His was always immaculate.
It was because he had to putt. That was my favorite time. See Coach Johnson go in there and you get the putter out, do a few strokes, and say, yeah, Coach, I looked at the preseason at your schedule. Looks like 26-2, man, right out of the chute. And no. He's the original Dr. Doom. Love Mark Johnson. So anyway, we'll get the perspective of Matt Simmons. That's going to be really cool today. Gerard Welbrock will be joining the show, talk everything Fort Hays State. He's not going anywhere this year for NCAA tournament. The Tiger men and women missing the tournament, and I'm going to bring up the fact, how in the world does Emporia State get in before?
That's what I was going to bring up. I was wondering if you would. I saw it.
They're not even an accredited college anymore, are they?
Oh, they're moving towards it, but the athletics keep the wheels turning over there. So
Stingers up.
Stingers up all the way.
All right,
except for the philosophy department.
Yeah, except for some of the.
What about the education department?
Some of the decision makers at the top there might not deserve the Stingers up, but the student body and the athletes all the way Stingers up for those kids.
Are they the Koch Training Center Hornets now?
Pretty much, something like that. I don't know what they're doing up there, but hopefully they can make a run deep into the tournament, make some happy Hornets back home.
Okay. Well, man, I got to watch those headphones. I hate to break them.
You're going to break one and become an enemy of the studio, too. It's not that hard.
Sounds the past 24 hours. We'll get to here in just a moment, but the latest on Bill Self, reportedly doing well. He remains in the hospital. He missed the Big 12 tournament game for the Jayhawks this afternoon. University of Kansas confirmed that Bill Self will miss. Assistant Norm Roberts will search as acting head coach during the game. KU indicated that Self's doing well, receiving medical care from the University of Kansas Health System. Officials have not indicated what led to Self's hospitalization. So you immediately go to the tweeter machine, right? So the tweeter machine, couple sources, Kansas City media, that Bill Self's being treated for an apparent heart attack. But that's all we've got right now. So
I'm not a doctor, but the red face every game tells me a little bit of high blood pressure.
Definitely can't be a easy profession to try to keep your levels down and everything.
And Scott Donovan, I was doing Trading Post today, the always popular Trading Post, which you still do not have your eagle wings yet.
I keep waiting for you to pull me out of the bullpen for
tomorrow, man, to be a great time.
There we go. Get the wings on.
So Scotty comes in and he said, "I've got this information about KU and Bill Self." I feel bad because this was the first thought I had. NCAA's not going to come down on him during the Big 12 tournament or the NCAA. That's the first thing I thought about. I didn't think about his health or anything else. I mean, that's just...
He's not one of those coaches that looks overly old.
He's not Rick Majerus.
Yeah, like some of those elder statesmen get looking a little long in the tooth. You hear about them having some health issues. It's not the most surprising. Self not looking the most badgered, but hopefully the head of that program can shape up and return to health.
Hopefully is everything okay. So KU plays at 1:30 this afternoon. Okay, sounds the past 24 hours. I do not believe Patrick Burnett ever lost a game as the voice of the Central Plains Lady Oilers. Great broadcast, by the way. Really enjoyed listening to it, except the fact it was going the wrong way. Got off 4-0 lead just like that, and I said, boy, okay, we're on the way. And then just like that, it was an 11-0 run, I believe, 11-4, and Donovan West, they're pretty good.
They've got some shooters. They've got some girls who can hit shots from outside and girls who can work down low on the post. Weathersby last night, number 40 for Donovan West, just put on a clinic in the first half. She averaged 8 points a game coming into this. In the first half, she scored 10 alone.
They've got a lot of different players who can score.
They do. All 5 of their starters had at least 6 points, 3 of those in double digits. And a big factor for Central Plains early was Brenna Hamke picking up 3 fouls in the first period, really hamstringed her ability to play the aggressive defense she wanted to, and she pulled back and didn't. She only finished the game with 4 fouls in the rest of the final 3 quarters, but
that's what I told Mike when she came in the first half and she's got 3 fouls, you know that
she had to dial it back, and you could see she kind of wanted to get aggressive. She was trying to jump these pass lanes. She just wasn't doing it with the same vigor as she would have 3 of those fouls. And so tough break for Central Plains, but that was a talented Donovan West team.
So Mike Corson, I've said it over and over again that it's kind of like living in a place that you're used to it, the temperature and everything, and people come in and say, man, this is incredible. This is beautiful. All the time. And you live there. We've lived this for the last 9 or 10 years. Put this in perspective, because I don't think we appreciate just, is anyone ever going to break this?
Yeah, and I think this will actually give people an opportunity to breathe. Just talking to Coach Styles the other day and talking to the kids throughout the years, I think I've covered most of those finals games. Nobody ever has any idea of the greatness they've accomplished. So now the fact that it hasn't happened, I think everybody who has been part of it, and even this group of kids has been part of 2 championships. Now your season ends early for the first time in a decade, and you can say, man, you know what? Nobody's going to touch our 8 records, or our 8 championships that should be 9.
You know, and everybody's been speculating about Pat Styles. Okay, when's he going to hang it up? Well, okay, thought maybe it might. But then, okay, they've got this girl named Emily Ryan, you know, down in junior. She's just like best thing since Jackie Styles. And then, you know, she leaves, but then you got Brenna Hammocky, and you know, it's I don't know. Is there
you expect that at a McPherson or a 5 or 6A school, but the fact that they do it in Claflin and they've done it for so long. I covered Taylor Rolfs and Reagan Phelan, and Reagan was kind of the first girl on the sideline when you got your expensive camera out. It's heads up time, and then you kept hearing this Emily Ryan girl can't possibly live up to the expectations. I think she scored 40 in her first varsity game. It's
I saw that one. It was at Hoising. Yeah, doing reverse layups and
it was like
steals and layups, and that was. So you were there for history, Aaron.
Yeah, you know, they knew it was my first time, so they wanted to make it special. You know, go do something they hadn't done in a little while.
Just next time that you go to Claflin for anything, just say your name is Joe Blow.
And, you know, in the words of Clark Griswold, we're going to go ahead and keep them rolled up.
Mike Corson's favorite city, East St. Louis. That's where it took place at. Okay.
I was thinking at Christmas. I was like, I don't know that line.
Kyle Schmidt, head coach of the La Crosse Leopards, talking about it wasn't really going to matter who they played in the first round. It was going to be a tough matchup. I just wanted to see someone other than Maxville or La Crosse. But La Crosse has won 9 straight games. Their last loss was 69-37 to Maxville, where Maxville scored 29 points in the first quarter. But, you know, you're at the state, let her fly, man. We'll see what happens. Jeff Kuckelman, that was a cool story yesterday. It seems like everybody either comes in this state from Smith Center or Baileyville. He grew up in Baileyville, still remembers going to the state tournament when he was a kid, you know. He said, you know, it was always a treat because he worked on a dairy farm, you know, for his folks. And then he got the opportunity, everybody go to state, you stay overnight, and the conversation was more around state tournament experiences for small schools, because I imagine hopefully they've got a policeman there in Maxville today or in La Crosse to protect the town, because everybody's going to be at the state tournaments. Really, and I'm not saying it doesn't mean anything for larger schools, but it brings the community together, and I think we'll see that today in big fashion out at Dodge City.
Baileyville's reach, one of my football playoff memories was getting yelled at by Baileyville parents. And then when I was at Fort Hays, Jamie Hyman was our post player. She was a Baileyville kid. She was just at the Hays High Great Bend game the other night.
And Mitch Ingleton from Stafford, their football coach, I brought him up. Said, well, I think he's my cousin because my mother was an Ingleton. So it all begins up there. Within a rock's throw of.
Just get these.
I don't know what they do up there. You got Centrail, you got Axtell, all those teams. But anyway, that's 6 o'clock tonight in Dodge City. The other girls' game you were at last night, that's really tough. You have 6 players, then your best player averages 20 points a game, is unavailable, and Pawnee Heights comes up short against Lebo, 56-12 out of Martin Community College.
Yeah, and Lebo was undefeated, and they big, strong girls, and then to boot, Pawnee Heights loses their ball handler in the first quarter, so it ended up being 4-on-4, which got to think probably most people have never seen in a state tournament.
Okay, Big 12 tournament is underway, and if Jalen Wilson, Big 12 Player of the Year, KU, I think if you want a number 1 seed, they probably need to win today against West Virginia. He's been playing very, very well. That game starts at 2 o'clock. We'll have it on Hits 106.9 starting at 1:30 today. Keontae Johnson talking about taking on TCU. They lost the first game down at Fort Worth, turned the ball over. They got blown out in that game, and then came back and beat him in Manhattan, saying you got to watch the turnovers in transition. Marquise Noel, doesn't matter who you play. It's going to be a tough game. They start tonight as they will play that TCU team at 8:30. All the games today available on ESPN2. So there you go. Sounds the past 24 hours or so. Any other tidbits of wisdom from you, Mike Corson?
Two real quick. So I'm out at Barton Community College. Big shout out to Brandon Smith and those guys. Trevor blasts the music, pumps up the environment. Brandon does probably the best statistics of any state location around the state. And then on the Royal side, Lorenzo Kane is retiring, but we don't know when. He didn't get picked up by a team this year, so he will retire at some point in Kansas City this summer as a Royal.
They can let him play, or just it's a
I don't know if he'll get to play that game, but he said he had some offers in the offseason, but just decided he's going to hang him up. But he does want to go as a Royal, so they're negotiating a date so he can come to Kansas City and do that.
You found your way home, evidently.
I did. It was a pretty straight line. You know, you get to.
Well, I got that text last night. It said, "Is Simron on the way back to Great Bend?"
He ended up in St. John. He missed a turn at Kinsley.
You know, I was just driving around probably for about 3 hours just following signs. All right, now Hoisington's next to Great Bend. If I can get there, I'll be fine. If I see a sign for Goodland, I'm going the wrong way.
Great job yesterday on that call. Cole Reif's going to join us. We'll talk Region 6 basketball. Matt Simmons coming up, and the voice of the Tigers, Gerard Welbrock, here on Sports Day on 1590 KVGB and 95.
Consider advanced therapy in Great Bend and progressive therapy in Larned and Hayes.
There's nothing like A-STEM therapy. This is Tim Marcus from Progressive Physical Therapy in Hayes. Research shows A-STEM therapy improves muscle performance and neural functioning. It's highly effective for those dealing with tennis elbow, carpal tunnel, sports injuries, and general aches and pains.
You don't need to hurt. Physical therapy can help. Call Advanced or Progressive Therapy and Sports Medicine to explore your treatment options and get your life back.
Explore the world of Rossum's Universal Robots presented by Barton Theater with multiple showings from March 2nd through the 4th and March 9th through the 11th. In this sci-fi suspense classic, humans have created robots meant to serve humankind, but the robots have other plans and an epic battle between man and machine erupts. The show has been adapted and modernized by Barton Theater from the original 1921 production. Visit shows.bartonccc.edu for tickets.
B&D Herefords and Angus 37th Annual Production Sale coming Monday, March 20th at 1 p.m. at the ranch, 1 mile east of Odin, Kansas. Selling will be 50 Age Advantage Angus Bulls, 50 Age Advantage Hereford Bulls, 50 Angus and Black Baldy Spring Pairs. Join us for the season opener. Come find your next herd bull. That's B&D Herefords and Angus 37th Annual Production Sale, Monday, March 20th at the ranch, 1 mile east of Odin, Kansas. Lunch at noon. For more information, contact Craig Barron at 620-786-9703. Sale will be broadcast on BB Auction.
Great Bend Appliance, Furniture, and Sleep Source, your local Whirlpool dealer, is holding an income tax layaway sale. Pick out what you want, put it on layaway, and pay it off when you get your tax refund. Choose from Whirlpool washers and dryers, stoves, refrigerator, and freezers. Buy a big screen HD TV, new recliners, beds, and furniture galore. Pick it out today. Put it on layaway and pay it off when you get your tax refund. Get all the details at Great Bend Appliance, Furniture, and Sleep Source, your local Whirlpool dealer at 10th and Morton.
Voice of Hoisington High School football, the Barton County Cougars, and the king of the tweeter machine. It's Cole Reif on Sports Day on 1590 KVGB 0.5 FM.
What, you need headphones, Cole?
Yeah, it's not very loud. Maybe I'm falling in the category of those deaf broadcasters like you guys. There we go.
Well,
Okay,
if you can't hear that around here, then yeah, you got to watch where you're hearing. But that's one of the things that comes into Eagle Manual around here. Where you come on, okay, we do have older broadcasters here, so be sure it's in the safety video now. Be sure.
Anytime you follow into a studio after Steve Webster or Scott Donovan have been using it, make sure you turn down the volume. Words of advice.
I think Phil's in there too, but
Phil's in there as well. Yeah,
you're working there. I don't know. It's fun to see Aaron Clark bouncing around here, and he went to his first state tournament yesterday. I remember my first state tournament a long time ago. The girls, they had 3 on each side of the court. No, it wasn't that far away, but it's just cool. He's going to have to do TV production for Kiowa County School.
Yeah, the NFHS broadcast. So yeah, it's fun to see him. He's doing a great job.
Yeah.
You talk about getting a load of experience, I think a lot more than he thought he was going to get this year. So yeah, hats off to him. It's just fun to have a young, energetic broadcaster in our hallways. We're one that is hungry to go out and call extra games is nice to have around here.
All he just needs to remember is not get married, don't have kids, man. You just keep
Correct.
going all the games.
Correct, and then you are good.
You are good to go.
We're watching his dating.
No,
sorry, she's not good enough for you, Aaron. Don't get locked down.
And people will say this about coaches' wives, which they should. I mean, all kudos go out. How about sports play-by-play wives?
Well, and I think especially like Deb, like for you in that, I mean, you're talking about, I don't want to age you here, but 20, 30 years, 30 plus years of doing it. Mine is still kind of, she's still learning, but yeah, now it's gone south after the kids came along.
Oh man, tip your hat to them. And my kids all turned out okay.
They're great kids.
It's amazing.
Successful. That's why I keep telling her.
I wasn't around, so yeah, there you go. Okay, Cole Reif with us here on the show. Okay, quick, let's get right to it. Let's start with the men.
Okay.
Coffeyville. Okay, I'll just let you go whichever way you want. Who has the biggest hurdle to clear tomorrow to get to the Region 6 championship?
On the men's side?
The men or the women? For the Barton.
For Barton? I think the men still need a win. I think they're right on that verge, but I think the Jayhawk Conference in general is probably on the bubble outside of the team that obviously wins the Region 6 tournament, because you talk about those 8 at-large. Indian Hills lost in their conference region tournament. They're a sure pick for an at-large. And then CSI ended up losing as well, and they're probably the number 1 at-large pick. So there's 2 at-large
that are
already gone.
And how many at-large we get?
8. So, yeah, only 8 at-large picks, and so, like, 2 of them are gone, so you're down to 6. So I think it's, and you can only get a max of, each conference can only get a max of 3 teams into the national tournament, so your region champion, and the max you can get is 2 at-large picks. And Florida is going to gobble up probably a maximum of 3 teams. So I'm guessing at least 2 Florida teams will get an at-large, rightfully so. So there's 4 that are gone. And so now you're down to 4. So no more than 1 Jayhawk team is probably going to get in with an at-large. And I think Dodge City, Coffeyville, and Barton are almost neck and neck for, whatever conversation you want to put them in as far as getting one of those spots.
So tomorrow's an elimination game.
I think so. Yeah. I really do. I mean, because you say, okay, hey, Coffeyville might be slightly ahead of you. If you beat them, boom, you leapfrog. So I think they have to win. Maybe they'd be on the bubble if they lost, but I think they almost have to win tomorrow night.
Okay, the first 2 matchups, I mean, the one was back in before
December,
Christmas, yeah, and the last one, what was constant in those games and what would need to change tomorrow?
Barton didn't play bad in either of those games, and we talked about, Coffeyville's the only team that swept Barton this year. The thing that gives me hope is that the first game in December, that was the start of the bad stretch for Barton. I think they lost 4 of their 4 or 5 games. And that Coffeyville game on the road is what started it. And they didn't play bad. I think they scored 80-plus points, and they kept it within single digits. Lost 85-77, so lost by 8 points. Didn't play bad, but that was the stretch of their offense kind of falling off. And then right on the verge of them starting to play well, or in the middle of it, when they met up again in early February, that was the game they were without Joey LaCandro. So the second meeting against Coffeyville, they played without Joey. And obviously he played in the game in December, but, just as a team, they weren't playing well together. So that gives me hope. But, Coffeyville is just like, since I've been covering him, since you were covering him, they just fit into the Jay Herkelman mold. and then they play well together. Like, they have some really good individual talent that's going to move on, but they just all fit into the system, and they don't mess up.
It's like he's baking cookies every year with the same recipe.
Exactly,
You know?
same cookie cutter, because, like, they don't turn the ball over. They shoot at a ridiculous clip. I mean, they're averaging 49% from the floor. So, I mean, you know how tough it is to go into a game knowing that your opponent is probably going to shoot mid-50s? You know, like, that's tough. So if you're not in sync offensively at a high level going up against Coffeyville, they will methodically bury you. They destroyed what I thought was a pretty good Pratt team Tuesday night in the first round. They had 17 threes. 17 threes, and it wasn't like they took 60.
That's perfect, though. They're not going to do that again.
Maybe they got out of it, but they've hit 28 threes in their last 2 games. And this is a team that is just it's not a volume shooting team. They just hit at such a high clip, you know, that they make you pay. So, yeah, I mean, out of all the teams left, these 4 teams on the men's side, I really think Coffeyville is the best. Now, Barton is the hottest. Obviously, they've won 8 straight games, and so anybody you put in front of Barton right now, I'm going to say, yep, they got a chance. They have a chance tomorrow night for sure, but yeah, Coffeyville is they're just a machine. They get buckets, and they consistently get buckets.
Lady Cougars take on Butler at 5.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I mean, I think this is a ball game. I mean, you look at the 2 previous meetings that I feel like Barton should be in control of. It's not like, oh yeah, they're going to be guaranteed win. But you know, Butler has a lot to play for too, because this, as good as we've talked about Dodge City and as good of a season we've talked about Barton, Butler's right there. I mean, they're 24-6 on the season. I mean, this is a team that says, hey, you know, if we can go out and beat Barton, why aren't we in the conversation for a potential at-large bid? We beat Barton. We're 25-6 if they get that win tomorrow night. So, yeah, I mean, the Grizzlies, I mean, everyone's got something to play for this time of the year in the semifinals, but they really have something to play for. So that's going to be a really, really hungry team coming into tomorrow night. But, you know, Barton's going to give them the outside shot. I think it's very similar to Cloud County we saw on Tuesday night. Cloud couldn't shoot well from outside. Butler has struggled from outside. So if the Grizzlies want to get that win, they're going to have to hit some shots from outside. And, you know, they've been shooting mid-20s, you know, all season long. So if they can hit some shots, get some rare threes to go down, because Barton's going to give them that shot, you know, then they're going to have a chance. But if not, I always felt like Barton was at least 1 or 2 steps ahead of Butler, even though it's going to be a good athletic game.
So going back to your men's statement, so if Butler would beat Barton, do they jump the Lady Cougars in the pecking order for an at-large?
I don't know if they jump them, but they definitely make it a little bit more heated. Yeah. I don't know if they jump them, because I mean, Barton still won 2 against Butler in the regular season. Now, postseason games, you can say they have more weight on them, but I think the Lady Cougars are still in a pretty good spot, even if they do lose tomorrow night. But you don't want to take any chances this time of the year when there's only 8 at-large bids. So.
And maybe Region 6, at least on the women's side, we talked about street cred before, how it carries over. So I would say the men's side would probably have more street cred than the Region 6 women right now.
Yeah, I don't think the women have a whole lot of cred. I mean, not that they're Jayhawk Conference. I think it's got to be considered probably the second best conference in the country. But when you have, I mean, again, Florida, that, you know, swallows up, you know, probably 2 of the at-large bids, and they're really, really good, and they deserve those bids, you know, based on the talent that they have out there. Yeah, it's really tough to get in that 3rd team from the Jayhawk. They've done it before when, like, Hutchinson and Seward County were really running. Sometimes you'd see Butler get in there and they'd get 3 teams. I remember Cali would sneak in there from time to time. So, you know, they've done it before, but yeah, I don't see that happening this year. I mean, Butler, last poll, they were receiving votes. So, I mean, they would have a chance at it, but yeah, I think Barton's still in a pretty good spot. But I don't think you want to leave anything up for doubt at this point.
Okay, confidence meter right now.
The women, I feel good. I feel good about the women's chances of winning that game. They beat Butler 2 years ago at the same point at Friends University in the semifinals, so I feel good about their chances. The men's game, very similar to Tuesday night's game against Hutch. You know, I feel like it's a coin toss at this point. You could say Coffeyville are the 2 seed, although they finished with the same conference record, might be slightly favored. But the way Barton's playing right now, like I said, I think you could put Barton up with anybody in the country, and they're going to at least go out and have a pretty good shot at winning a game. They're in that type of a rhythm right now. It's fun to watch.
They both make the national tournament. Who goes to Texas?
Well, I want to reserve your play-by-play abilities in case.
We've got the young pattern. Young Padawan, man.
Well,
I don't know. Send him into Texas, man. I don't know.
we were questioning him getting back from Dodge City. Like, how's he going to get back from Lubbock, Texas? All right. Although you kind of go in the same route for initially, but eventually you have to veer south.
Okay. Well, hopefully that's a problem we've got to address.
And I think the national tournament for the men starts on the 20th. The women don't start till the 22nd. So, like Monday, Wednesday. So we might have a chance there to at least fill in one game at Hutch before it went south. So.
Well, you went up to Wisconsin, for God's sakes, for Legion Baseball. So, okay.
It was a good time.
Handle that. Okay. Cole Reif with us on Sports Day. We'll talk Perry Lecompton basketball with former Panther Matt Simmons. That's coming.
Cole Reif, voice of the Barton Cougars. Attending sporting events for Barton Community College is great, but did you know you can support the athletic teams even further by getting involved with the Cougar Booster Club? The Boosters help with fundraising for equipment and facility upgrades to give Barton athletes every opportunity to keep succeeding at the regional and national levels. Join the Cougar Booster Club as
Kansas
an
information.
Business. Call 620-792-9377. Become a booster today. Go Cougars.
Don't feel bad if you're not a phone expert. That's what we're here for. At Next Tech Wireless, we'll help you in the transition to a new device step by step. Want to customize the screen? We've got you. Have questions about some of the functions? We're happy to help. You're not just another number to us. Come see us today and we'll get you into the best phone for your needs. We're friends. We're neighbors. We are Kansas. Next Tech Wireless.
Cattlemen and ranchers, you're invited to be in the seats for the Mid-Kansas Angus and Simmental Breeders' 28th production sale. Wednesday, March 15th, 1 p.m. at La Crosse Livestock Market Center, La Crosse, Kansas. Selling will be 50-plus Angus and Sim Angus bulls, 25 commercial Angus and Sim Angus females, opens, bred in pairs. All bulls will be turnout ready, freeze-branded and current shots. Free delivery and first breeding season guarantee. Cooperating breeders for this Mid-Kansas Angus and Simmental Breeders' sale include Schlegel Angus Genetics, Ficken Angus Farms, Rosemain Angus, Rafter W Cattle Company, and Sweezy Ranch. View bulls at midkab.com. Online bidding at Live Auction TV. Again, that's Live Auction TV for online bidding. This is the 28th annual production sale of the Mid-Kansas Angus and Simmental Breeders. Wednesday, March 15th, 1 p.m. at La Crosse Livestock Market Center. Contact any other cooperating breeders for more information. Website again is midkab.com.
The nursing team at the University of Kansas Health System is growing, and they have the place for you in Great Bend. If you have an LPN, RN, or CNA, they want to visit with you about joining one of their care teams. They need people who love to work in home health, labor and delivery, emergency medicine, and surgery-related care areas. To learn more, visit kansashealthsystem.com/greatbendjobs. The University of Kansas Health System, they have the place for you.
Sports Day is presented by Barton Community College and the Cougar Athletic Department. Sports Day on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM.
Welcome back, Sports Day here on KVGB. Our next guest, well, he's familiar to people in Great Bend. He's a two-time Panthers state champion. He's the all-time leader for single-season rebounds and rebounds per game. The one and only Matt Simmons joining us live from Hutchinson today, where his team, Perry Lecompton, takes on Southeast Saline tonight in the 3A state tournament. Matt, thanks for coming on the show today.
Well, thanks for that introduction. Man, that was nice.
Well, we got to take care of our guests here. Maybe you'll come back when you visit, and stop by the studio, man. So,
well, thanks. I appreciate you having me on.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's talk about your team a little bit. Tell me about Perry Lecompton High School, where it's at, and kind of a little background on the school you've been coaching at.
Yeah, so it's in between Topeka and Lawrence on Highway 24. It's actually two separate towns, Perry and Lecompton, that are separated by just a couple miles. And then our district actually runs up into Lawrence, so we have some kids that come from Lawrence and then, kids from farmland and things like that. So kind of a bunch of different kids from a bunch of different areas that all come to Perry Lecompton. We're a 3A high school, like you mentioned. We're in the Big 7 conference with a lot of really good teams, and it's just a great place to work.
And I was talking about Jeff Kunkelman. He was on the show yesterday. He's talking about, the small town feel of state tournaments, and it sounds like you get that with two communities right there together in kind of rural communities.
Yeah, and people are really fired up. The communities really had our back. We actually hosted the sub-state at Perry Lecompton. And I think that's a big reason on why we're here. We had that home court advantage, and our community really showed up and supported us through the whole thing.
How did you get to Perry Lecompton? Kind of talk about, and how long have you been there now as a basketball coach?
This is my second year. Moved. I was on Great Bend's staff under Chris Batten and then under Tim Brooks. And a job move got us out to Topeka and interviewed for jobs out there after we had moved. And I actually got on at Jefferson West High School in Meriden in 2019. I was there for 2 years. And it was then the Perry Lecompton opportunity came up and got the job there. So this is my second year here at Perry.
Matt Simmons joining us here on Sports Day. So your team 19-4 this year, and you get southeast of Saline. First, let's talk about your team tonight, and what do you got for southeast tonight?
Well, we're pretty senior heavy. 4 seniors that start. 2 of them, one just passed 1,000 points, and the other one's like 52 points away from that. We've got a group of kids who really love to play for each other, love to play for the cause, Perry Lecompton across their chest. And they're just competitors. They just refuse to lose. And they just, you really, really care for each other and care for the community, and really, really proud to be here with them.
Anytime you've got a guy named Gunner Ball, that he had 27 points your last game. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a sports name if I ever heard it. He's an ultimate competitor. He was, as a junior, a unanimous decision for all league in the Big 7. He was an all-state honorable mention as a junior, and he came back this year, and he's averaging 16.3 points and 10 rebounds a game as a 6'3" guard. So that just kind of to show his motor, how hard he plays, and that he just works very hard on both ends of the floor.
How'd things go in your first year, Matt?
We went 10-10, and we lost in the first round of the sub-state at Pleasant Ridge. So 10-10, and that was in a conference that was very good. Royal Valley is in our conference, and they made it to the state championship game. Sabetha was a top 10 team all year and this year, and they actually lost to Royal Valley to go to the state tournament. Holton's always very good. So we're in a place where, if you go 500, you actually had a pretty good year, because we play really, really good teams, ranked teams, night in and night out.
So your experience with state tournaments, how do you convey that to your players who are getting ready to go to the sports arena here later today?
Yeah, I think it's brought up a lot of great memories. I will say that seeing how the communities come out, seeing how the schools responded, seeing how the players just lit up after winning that sub-state championship, it brought back a lot of memories as a player. And I think the funnest part about that time was just doing it with my friends. And that's kind of what we have here. We have a group of friends who really love playing together, competing together, grown up playing together. Most of these guys went to kindergarten together. So very similar to my experience. And, I've taken some of the things that, coaches did for us back then that I thought was really cool, things that, the school did for us back then that I thought was really cool, and kind of brought that back. So, yeah, I've had a little experience as a player, but none as a coach. So I've reached out to people who've done it before, and I've got a lot of good advice going into this weekend.
What's the best advice you've got?
Just enjoy it, and I can remember that from when I was a player. Coaches saying, just enjoy it, soak it all up, live in the moment, and just enjoy this team in this moment, because it'll never be like this again.
What do you think about southeast of Saline?
Oh, they're loaded. They've got they're probably the fastest team we've played all year. Extremely athletic. Rebound well, defend really well. They'll pressure the whole game. So if we handle the ball and we get back in transition, we've definitely got a chance. We've got some kids who kind of will not quit, no matter what the score is. So we always feel like we have a chance in any game we play.
Matt Simmons joining us right now. He'll bring his Perry Lecompton team into the sports arena tonight, and they'll take on southeast of Saline. Matt, when did you first know that you wanted to become a head coach?
I always just loved the game. My parents did whatever they could to let me play growing up. A lot of sacrifice to allow me to play. And I just loved the game for whatever reason, and I always knew I wanted to stay around it. When I played in college, grew great bonds with some of my college coaches. I still talk to Craig Fletchell on a weekly basis. Coach Johnson, Coach Brown at Fort Hays did a lot of good things for me. And I just remember those guys caring about me and what that meant to me. And so I think that's kind of what it rubbed off on me is I want to do that for kids. I want to be there for them, help them develop as not only players but as people. And so that kind of led me into the coaching ranks.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good resume to play for. You had Jeff Langer, who was, the driest sense of humor guy that you'd ever want to be around. And then, of course, you got Fletch. I mean, he's one of my favorites of all time. And then Mark Johnson, another one of my favorites. And all three of them very successful, yet they were all different in many different ways. So, man, what a great learning incubator for you if you want to become a head coach.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it. I've taken things from each one of those coaches that I knew maybe I didn't like, but it was good for our team. Things that were fun that they did, I bring that, and then I just think back to those teams I was on. They all put me in a position to be successful as a player. In college especially, just putting really good players around the team I was on. Having good players is a big part of it. That's a big reason why we're here. It has a lot to do with the players, and I think that the coaching staff that coached me growing up definitely affected me in a positive way to become a head coach.
Man, I never even got a sniff of a state tournament. You went to state tournament, you won it twice. How cool is that?
It's memories you'll never forget. One thing is with those group of guys that I was around is, now that you're a little older and you can reflect and you've coached, is just how overly talented those teams were. Just every single person on it played a college sport at some capacity. None of them, everybody on those teams just hated to lose. And then, you got a coaching staff that puts you in a position to win. And we always felt confident going in. Even if teams were better than us, we knew that we'd compete and not let it be easy. And we always had good game plans. We played well in big moments, had guys step up. And now, experiences that I'll never forget and memories that I'll never forget.
Yeah, and of course they become cloudier the older you get. But I mean,
there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, just maybe one or two things that during the game. Maybe not. I know the celebration had to be awesome, but some things that somebody reminds you, hey, a 2-state tournament. What are some of the memories that just shoot out for you from particular games?
I can remember the state championship the first time. I was pretty young. I was a sophomore. And even though I was in the starting lineup, I wasn't really sure what was going on back then. And I can remember those seniors really putting their arm around me, Jason Schneider and Joe Harvey and Dex Conwell and Brandon Wells. And, those guys, we'd come out of timeouts, and I can remember they'd say, hey, come here real quick. And we'd get in a little huddle, and they'd talk us through what's about to happen. And that meant a lot. And then the celebrations, obviously, I can remember getting subbed out after the Highland Park game in the second state championship and just coming over and hugging all my teammates and seeing the crowd go crazy. It's still imprinted in my mind all these years later. And we got a little piece of that winning the sub-state championship in front of our home crowd. But I just hope for them that they can get a taste of that again, because that's just a different feeling to do that for your community.
I saw Brandon Wells, the chocolate auction here a few weeks ago, told me he was the best player ever in Great Bend.
Does that surprise you that he said that?
Well, considering everything else going on all around there, I think there's a lot of other people that were boasting at that time too. But
well, I'll tell you what, you go look at those record boards. You may have a case for that.
Some of your other teammates, that's really cool, and you can mention some of those guys. And don't worry, but you might miss somebody. But that's okay. But give some kudos to some of your teammates.
Well, if you just started my sophomore year, Jason played college basketball. Scott Schneider played college basketball. David Swafford played college soccer. Brandon Wells played baseball in college. So did Bryce. Sloan Kern ran track in college. Jeremy Reed played football at K-State. Bobby Munns played football at Colorado School of Mines. John Pike played basketball at Barton. And I'm sure I missed a couple of those guys, and I apologize. But we just had a lot of really talented athletes all there at the same time. We had a community that raised us. I can remember going and playing noon ball as a kid, and all those noon ball guys taking me under their wing and teaching me a lot, even as a kid. So basketball was always really big in Great Bend. A lot of people cared, and I think it showed that we kind of came together and won a bunch of games because of it.
Did you play Bob Salter?
That name sounds familiar,
okay.
But more for me was Chuck Pike giving me the elbows in the post, and Brian Scott and Marlin, and I could go on and on and on about all the guys throughout. They started letting me play when I was like 12 or 13. Me and my friends would go up in the summer, and we just wanted to play all the time. And those guys, we were probably pretty annoying to them, but they took us under their wing and let us play.
It makes a lot of sense, Matt Simmons, because you probably learned to rebound pretty well then, didn't you?
Yeah, I learned a lot. You learn to talk on defense. You learn not to get a drink because they got to get back to work. So they wouldn't let you go get any drinks. So you got to play when you're tired. Yeah, I learned a lot from those guys. Learned a lot from my youth coaches, my summer AAU coaches, and obviously the high school coaching staff. And I've just been very blessed to have such a good support system. And, even my parents, like I said, taking me all over. My junior year, I went and played on an AAU team out of Kansas City. And, man, they just taken me back and forth from there for all the practices and tournaments all over the country. I'm definitely blessed, and there's definitely a reason why I'm in the position I'm in now as a head coach. It's because of all the support from all the people around me.
Well, Matt, we'll let you go. I know it's going to be a big day. Just one more question for you. How are the Butterflies different going into a state tournament as a coach compared to what they are as a player?
I think it's a little more steady, actually. I think as a coach, you understand that you can't make shots for them. So you're just going to do your best to put them in a position to succeed. And then the kids are going to take it from there. They're the ones who make the shots. They're the ones who make the plays. We just look good when we win. So it's more about the players than it is the coaches. And I want to make sure they know that they're a pretty special group. And just to get us to the place we're in, even though we're not ready to leave here, we're really excited about the opportunity. And those kids are going to go make some big plays tonight. I can feel it.
Pride of Great Bend, Kansas, and Fort Hays State with us here. Matt Simmons, good luck tonight. We'll be pulling for you along with all the rest of the folks right here in Central Kansas.
I appreciate all the support and having me on. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, Matt Simmons with us here on Sports Day. We'll have more.
Management Studios, 1590 KVGB, Great Bend, and 95.5 FM K238CK, Hoisington.
If you're not filling with Cenex Premium Diesel, then you're not giving your fuel system the premium treatment. Cenex Roadmaster XL comes with a more complete additive package for a more complete burn, while restoring your power by up to 4.5% and your fuel economy by up to 5%. Typical number 2 diesel? I guess it covers the basics. Cenex Premium Diesel. Diesel that doesn't mess around.
Contact American Plains Co-op in Great Bend, your certified Cenex distributor today.
Explore the world of Rossum's Universal Robots presented by Barton Theater with multiple showings from March 2nd through the 4th and March 9th through the 11th. In this sci-fi suspense classic, humans have created robots meant to serve humankind, but the robots have other plans and an epic battle between man and machine erupts. The show has been adapted and modernized by Barton Theater from the original 1921 production. Visit shows.bartonccc.edu for tickets.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-355-4107 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-355-4107. That's 800-355-4107. What do you have to lose? Call 800-355-4107. Again, 800-355-4107.
To head to Tiger Town to talk Fort Hays State Tiger sports with the voice of the Tigers, Gerard Wellbrock, on Sports Day.
Well, from one Tiger to another, Matt Simmons to Gerard Wellbrock. He's joining us on the show right now. Matt Simmons there was a kid that maybe wasn't overly talented. Obviously, he really was. I mean, you look at his career, but pretty good rebounder, wasn't he? Defensive player.
Good rebounder. Yeah, Mark Johnson's had a knack of getting some of those guys, and they stick with it, and he fit the mark. I mean, Mark Johnson, he wants to be tough, physical, and he fit that mold. And yeah, he was a good rebounder and played on some decent teams too. So yeah, hadn't thought of Matt in a while. That's cool. You got to chat with him. He was a good one, no doubt.
And Gerard, congratulations here, because I remember you as a young budding broadcaster up at Fort Hays State football games, hanging outside the booth. Hey, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? Do you need to do this? And then this year, just completing your 20th year as voice of the Tigers. Congratulations, man. That's solid work, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, and I'm glad you didn't run me off when I pestered you.
I'm glad I didn't run you off. Yeah, you got some furrowed eyebrows at times, but then, they became less.
Well, I got those when I was working with you, too. So.
See, and I told you, that if you're going to move forward, Brock, you got to be mean.
Exactly.
And I've heard you pick that up pretty well, so I'm really.
Well, I did. I've tried to be a little.
Oh, you
little, as I get older. Yeah, there's a stretch. Sometimes you got to be. Sometimes you have to be.
Well, congratulations. It's a great stretch. So, all right, let's get to it here. You're not doing any NCAA tournament games this year.
No, I think both are right there. Probably, we always hear the last four out. I think both men and women were probably in that group. It's the way it goes. Division II is so tough, and I don't think people understand. So the best way I can describe, if Division I's tournament was run like Division II, the Big 12, the Big 10, and probably the Missouri Valley or the Summit would be in one region. And that Summit or Valley Conference would be given the exact same amount of precedent and would be on a level playing field with the Big 12 and the Big 10. And you look at this year, the locks out of the Big 12 that would have made the Division II tournament, KU, Texas, and K-State, since they beat KU. And Baylor was probably potentially on there, but if there's an upset in another tournament, which is what happened in this region for the men, Southern Nazarene got beat in their quarterfinal game. Had Southern Nazarene won their tournament in the GAC, I think Fort Hays State would have been in, but that took away a spot, and when you're on the bubble, so that's how tough it is. It needs to be reworked. There's a lot of talk. I think they're getting closer to doing that, but unfortunately, not only is it, I think, one of the toughest regions, the Central region, it's also one of the biggest. You got 44 teams battling for 8 spots. Some other regions have 32. It's like, 8 out of 32. That's better odds. So the Division II postseason format is flawed, and I know it's money, but I don't buy that argument, because there's other teams still travel, and there's got to be a better way. But I know the conference commissioner of the MIAA is working on it, but it's like anything else, it takes time. And there's got to be a 1-2, and I don't know how much the NCAA truly wants to change or cares. I mean, it's not a moneymaker. It's so anyway, I don't want to get too much on my soapbox, but
I was wanting you to.
It's unfortunate, and honestly, and what happened to the men this year for Fort Hays State? I mean, there was an upset, and that kept them out. Had there not been an upset in the GAC, I think they're in. Last year was a travesty that a 10-win team at Washburn got in over them, and Fort Hays State beat them head-to-head. And I'm thinking about the committee. There's a lot of criteria, but a big win carries a lot of weight as opposed to a bad loss. And Emporia State, even though Fort Hays State beat them by 20 in Emporia, they beat Northwest when Northwest didn't have the best player. The player of the year in the MIAA did not play in that game, Diego Bernard, and they beat him. When he was in the lineup, they lost twice. But that's huge. And that one win kind of kept Emporia over Fort Hays State. And honestly, the very first game of the year, Fort Hays State lost to Southwestern Oklahoma State. Emporia beat that same team, and Tigers played terrible. And they had those early season conference, you play the other conference region games. They carry so much weight. I really wish they could move those closer to Christmas. Because if you've got a new team, you're not always playing your best. And that's your first game. And, you look, that first game, Fort Hays State wins it. I think that's one more Division II in region win. I think they may have bumped Emporia, but the fact they lost their very first game of the year probably keeps them out.
Wow, that's amazing. So does that burn you more than anything else? Emporia's in and Tigers aren't?
Oh, yeah, I mean, when you especially the way Fort Hays State beat them, but Emporia deserved to be in. They had a good year. And last year, Fort Hays State deserved to be in and didn't get in, and that was a travesty. So I don't. It doesn't burn me too bad. I mean, I think they both should have been. And again, if there wasn't the upset in the GAC, they both would have been. And if Fort Hays State would have beat Central Oklahoma in the semis, I think they bump them because the win over UCO would have been just as big as the win over Northwest Missouri State. You look at all the criteria, and then Fort Hays State beat them head to head. Tigers were really one win short and one win against a quality opponent. And, man, they played well. They had a chance. And Caleb Hammocky had a good look at a three that just didn't go. UCO was really, really good. But the way both the men and women played in the conference tournament, I mean, they played probably some of their best, if not their best basketball of the year. It just wasn't quite enough.
Okay, real quick with the women, if they beat Central Missouri, they lost in overtime 66-64. If they win that game, do you think they get in?
I think they had to win the tournament. They just had what they needed that last 4-game stretch against the top 4 teams. They really just won one of those 4. I think then, yes, but I think they needed to win the tournament. They were just too far down. And Missouri Western's another team. I mean, they won 24 games and they didn't get in. I mean, it's tough. It's difficult. And then in the women's side, that region is brutal. So hopefully there's some reform and just a better. My suggestion: take 2 regions, combine them. So you have a 16 and then get the top 16. I think you got a better chance of getting the best 16 than just split them up and still play your 2 8-team regions. You know, you might go to Texas, you might go to Minnesota. I think the travel part of it in that formula isn't quite as bad. I don't know if it'll happen. I think that's an easier fix to make it a little bit better because, again, and I hate that about like 2A and 1A in high school. You're delegated to, if you are in a bad part of the state with geography because you got 4 really good teams, I'd rather, if you see that you got a better chance to at least have a truer champion emerge. And so, but we'll see if that happens. Who knows?
Jared Welbeck,
no one asked me.
Well, they should. They should.
They should.
The announcers know more than anything else. So, all right, Gerd, we'll talk spring football and baseball next week.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Okay, Jared Welbrock with us here on.
To the pain, you want the best. You need to see Dr. Dan Quillen at Catalyst Therapy and Sports Rehab. Dr. Dan is Barton County's only board-certified clinical specialist in orthopedic physical therapy. No matter your age, when it hurts, he will help. Call Dan at 620-282-4825. That's 282-4825. Excellence-driven, unrivaled results. Catalyst Therapy and Sports Rehab. Inside the Fieldhouse at 9th and Madison in Great Bend.
Venture Corporation is a homegrown company with almost 50 years of experience in asphalt, paving, and construction, and they need equipment operators, mechanics, and CDL drivers. Venture offers many benefits, including 401k and Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance. Call Leslie for all the details. Work for a family-owned and family-oriented company that is here today and will be here in the future. Venture Corporation, South Highway 281, Great Bend, is an equal opportunity employer.
And joining us now, back on the show today, another solid Sports Day show, man. We set the bar high. So, but
can we have State Week every week?
I don't know. Would you want that?
It's easy to fill, it seems like.
It's easy to fill, but that means you're spending some nights out. So where are you going today?
I'm heading out to Barton here in just a little bit. We think Greeley County is the reigning champ. We think they're pretty solid favorites in that one, and then Stafford's playing after them, so I'll stick around and watch that.
Man, go Stafford Trojans.
You bet.
That'd be awesome. See, if we get state champions, we've got to still have a chance on the boys' side anyway.
We're going to come in off-season and put up a shelf so we have some more room for this stuff.
We need one. Bowling pins are starting to take up our little window over here. But, yeah, we have Maxville in. We'll have lacrosse in. Whoever comes out that winner tonight can go on and win it. I know Maxville wants Opie on the other side of that bracket.
Watching Maxville a few times, I do think they got to be. They're not the top seed, but they still got to be a favorite out there.
Yeah, and good luck to Maxville, lacrosse, and Stafford today. We'll be back tomorrow, Sports Day here on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM.